Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO44 coming at you with another video. All right, so basketball news is coming far and in between. This last couple days, of course, because the NBA Finals is coming to a close, so ain't really a whole lot to talk about right now. But we do have the draft coming up very soon. I haven't done my homework on that, to be honest with you, and I'm trying to figure out because last year when I did it, I learned about those players after they got to their teams, and then I understood how they slotted on those teams, and it kind of made more sense because it was less players to study. Before the draft, I'm finding I don't have the patience to study a vast majority of prospects, right? Because you're not going to see all of them drafted. You know what I mean? And when you after you get out of the first round, you start getting to the second round, you start really looking at prospects. Some of them gonna get drafted, others go get skipped on, some will be undrafted. So I think it probably makes more sense for me to just wait until after the draft and then look at the teams as they're constructed, like I did last year. Break down those prospects after they get to their squad. So I think that's probably how I'll do it again this year. Yeah, I think so. Anyway, so I came here today because speaking of undrafted prospects, I've been listening to people talk about the Lakers, and pretty excited about the undrafted guys that they're talking about that I'm aware of. Now, obviously, there's a billion different names, and our team has a billion different needs, so there's no wrong way to go right now at all. Um, but I tell you, I'm hearing some names that really perk the ears up. Um, Sharif O'Neal is supposed to be someone we're expecting to have available to us if he doesn't get drafted. Um, and I don't know that he's expected to be drafted. Um, but he already has a workout already, I think, complete with us. And given the fact that Shaq is his pops, given the fact that he's a forward that's like 6'10", who's obviously good as, I don't know if he's 6'10", I'm tripping, but he's a forward. He looks like one of those positionless forward kind of guys who are going to be wings, long wings, that do the things that we need long wings to do. Now we know he's had the heart issue in the past. Um, that's behind him, and it did derail his UCLA career. Uh, in a way, I'd imagine. I don't really remember how that goes, so I'm speaking this way, but he did have to leave school for a little while, and I think that derailed his progress in terms of him being a prospect in the NBA. But nevertheless, the upside is still there. The body is still there. Obviously, the uh, the pedigree is undeniable, and I like the body size on the player. You know, just eliminate all the other stuff. You're looking at a player who you believe could step in and play some three, play some four, and you can groom to do more. So I'm very excited about the body itself, and then just looking at what you can do once you start grooming a player like that. So I think it's a low risk situation in terms of getting a player his body type, and understanding that you pile up enough of those guys, you're going to be able to play defense, you're going to be able to get boards, and you're going to be able to keep positionless type of players on the floor. So just looking at who he is and what type of body type he has, I think he would be a very, very good look. And any player of that ilk is a good look to bring in to our franchise. Also, I looked up and I saw LiAngelo Ball had a pretty big game in the Drew League today. I saw enough out of LiAngelo Ball last year and the opportunities that he did get to play with the Charlotte Hornets to know that he's an NBA player. I don't know if he can play any defense, and looking at how certain things are slotted in the league, I don't know that that's really a deal breaker. Um, I look at play teams in the league, and I see that some of the most important teams out there right now are really having trouble scoring, really having trouble with consistency off of their bench and things of that nature. And I just look at a player like LiAngelo Ball and saying, okay, it's been a couple years now since I said he needed to get in shape and lose weight. Last year I saw him, he looked like he was in pretty good shape, and he's only continuing to work on his conditioning. So I think he's also a prospect the Lakers should take a look at. Low risk, high reward. And the reason why I'm telling us to look into names like this is not just because, um, you know what I mean, that it isn't just because I think they're a good prospect. It does have to do with some of the star power that their names provide, because I do believe if you're the Los Angeles Lakers, what you're trying to do is you're trying to find value where you don't necessarily have any. You know what I mean? You're trying to swing for the fences and hit out the park, because the idea is to try to pick up players that are going to turn into something that you can trade for something, right? So obviously, if we're bringing in the likes of Sharif O'Neal and LiAngelo Ball, no one's going to be quick to trade them necessarily. But what I'm saying is, you get players like that and they turn into something, now you double down on the star power because of their names. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's a high reward type of situation. And if they don't pan out, just like any other prospect, you treat them like any other prospect. If it don't turn out, but the way I see it is, we're such a blank canvas. We're gonna have to fill our team full of G leaguers anyway. I'm of the mindset that it doesn't hurt to bring in some of those players that have cachet name already attached to them, if it makes sense to bring them in basketball wise. Which in both of these cases, I don't think it's a bad idea to give them a look. I really don't. I've looked at LiAngelo. Like I said, his game is not defensive as far as I can tell, but he has a passing gift and he can shoot. He can shoot like the wind, and that right there tells me that there's a place in the league for guys who can pass and shoot. You look at a guy like Malik Monk and the things that he did for us last year. I believe LiAngelo Ball can do similar things in some ways offensively. I'm not saying he's Malik Monk. Malik Monk is a far superior prospect at this point. He's made it in the league. He's done his thing and he's earned his money. But what I'm saying is they have similar strengths as far as I can tell in terms of shooting the ball, offensively, scoring the ball. I think you can get a little flavor like that if LiAngelo develops properly. I'm not saying they're the same type of player. I'm just saying that I think you can get some of those same scoring numbers in some cases if he fully develops. So I like the idea of bringing him in just to see if he can do something. And if he does do something, bam, you're happy. So that's I'm not saying I want the Lakers to go full blown gimmicky, because last year we kind of did that, bringing in old names. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying the Lakers should just, okay, let's get him because he's somebody's son, him somebody's son, him somebody's nephew. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, looking at Sharif, I'm like, okay, even if he wasn't an O'Neal, that looks like the type of player we can bring in, play 3 different positions. And I look at LiAngelo and I say, okay, I like scoring now a little more than I used to. I like passing now a little more than I used to. And I just know that that's a prospect that's been raised around all-stars. Let's just be real. I think Lonzo Ball has a good chance of being an all-star if he can just string together a fully healthy season. And LaMelo Ball's already there. So I just look at LiAngelo and say, okay, he was raised around 2 all-stars. I know a lot of that rubbed off on him. I don't believe he's the talentless brother that everybody thinks he is. He was just the one out of shape, and now he's in shape, so that tells me the skills he's been working on his entire life can translate to the league just like his brothers. And I've seen enough from him on the court to know that that's the case. I've seen it. Passing, stealing the ball, believe it or not. He did some things defensively to my eyesight, and he was hitting shots like it was easy for him to do, which doesn't surprise me because of the 3, he was the best scorer when they were growing up. So I think that he's taken on the reverse effects of the hype of his brothers. Now it's like, oh, he's the brother that can't play. No. He's not the brother that can't play. And if he's given a real opportunity, I think he can earn his way into a league and show people he can play. In fact, I'm positive of it. So if we're the team that gives him a chance, I think we'll be happy we did. We were also the team that initially gave GP2 a chance. We didn't keep him, should have, obviously. And we see where he's at now. So I just don't think we're too far off in terms of who we're looking at, how we're thinking, and being willing to go that route. Because I just think it's a high upside type of deal. So I trust the Lakers are going to continue to use their scouts to try to find the names that I'm not aware of as well. Guys that I will be very happy to learn about because we've done a good job of that so far. Austin Reeves, THT, all of those prospects are really good so long as you manage them properly. So, looking forward to seeing what we're doing there. Encouraging the Lakers to keep on. A lot of people are now, since we're talking about the Lakers, we can talk about Anthony Davis a little bit. A lot of people are talking about the footage that's coming out of him saying he hasn't shot a ball since April 5th. That's only a problem for a lot of Laker fans because we've seen footage of him in a club dancing a couple weeks ago. So it's one of those situations where some people in their minds will say, well, we seen you dancing, but you can't shoot a basketball. So that's the shallow nature of a lot of people's opinions. I don't share that opinion. I think he's coming back from an injury that he was wise to let heal. But I think him not shooting the ball since April 5th more so speaks to his comfort level not having the game close to him. I think that's what that speaks to me. Not necessarily his willingness to overall be a part of the game or overall dedicate himself to the craft necessarily. It's more so about, okay, you had a hell of an injury and yes, you're healing from it, but damn, you really didn't pick up a basketball. Like, there's something to be said for passion of the game and being obsessive with the game. And I think a lot of Laker fans, if not all of us, were raised on players who were obsessed with the game. Um, Even if you go back further than my lifetime, you look at people who wore this uniform. They're obsessed. Jerry West was obsessed. Kobe Bryant, obsessed. You know what I mean? Magic Johnson, obsessed. They love the game. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, these guys, they lived, breathed the game. Still do. Like, honestly, those guys still do. So it's like, when I think about Anthony Davis and I think about how that statement came out and people are reacting to it, I just understand that it does speak to the motivational concerns that all of us Laker fans, or a lot of Laker fans, have been expressing, that we don't know that he's a guy who's going to bring his all to it every day, or is obsessed with it like we are used to players being obsessed with the game. We want to see him reach a level that maybe he is not interested in reaching as a Laker. You know what I mean? Maybe he's just cool with where he's at, and that should be fine. But except for with Los Angeles, we're all about reaching the highest level of excellence. So if your aim is to get to a 8, chances are if you come here, we want you to get to a 12, right? And so it's never going to be enough for us. And it's a give and a curse, I guess. You know what I mean? It's a gift and a curse because, on one hand, it's like, damn, as a Laker fan, you kind of just wish things were a little easier for guys that want to come here. At the same time, it's like, no, you don't, because with it being difficult comes the excellence that we have enjoyed. That's why our expectations are so high. I think about when I listen to certain people when they were talking about Draymond Green, for example, and his focus level and where he's at. And I say this with all kinds of respect in my heart, but this is how I see it. I'm going to say it like this. The people who had never won anything didn't seem to see a problem with Draymond Green's split level of focus in regards to him doing the podcast. Those who have won, guys who've driven the bus, those who have obsessed over winning, those who have won at a very high level, their opinions have been that he should walk away from the distraction of doing the podcast. To me, I share their opinion because I grew up witnessing what it took to not only get to a high level, but succeed. You see what I'm saying? And I'm learning this as I go along, that there is a real difference between those who know how to win championships and those who believe they know how to win basketball games, and what's required to do both. To win basketball games, you need X's and O's. To win championships, you need X's and O's and the other intangibles, including psychological wins, management of clock, understanding what motivational factors are there and removing them from your opponent so that they don't have extra motivation. These things are understood by people who've won championships over and over again, people who've watched people win championships over and over again, because we know when you watch Kobe Bryant and you saw his focus before finals, and then you saw at the end of the finals him holding the championship trophy, and you saw that process 5 times. No, scratch that. 7 times, because he didn't get it 2 of those times. But 7 times you saw what focus he brought to the situation and what came of the results of that focus. And then you look at people like Dwight Howard on the Orlando Magic at the time, who brought a certain level of folly and fun to the situation. And then you saw them go up against our guy Kobe Bryant in that focus, and you saw how they ended their series against him. And there's never any question about whether or not guys like Isaiah Thomas are right about whether or not Draymond Green should be splitting his focus in regards to the finals. There's no question about that for guys like us who understand what it takes to win championships, because we either did it ourselves or, like myself, watched people do it over and over again and watched the level of focus that they had coming into that situation versus the guys who didn't. There's no denying that there are things that go into winning that have to do with desire, that have to do with cutting out all distractions, that have to do with obsessing over the game, to where even if you have a leg injury, you're still dribbling the ball and shooting the ball while you're sitting down in the gym.
That's the level of obsession that I believe a Kobe Bryant had, that I believe a Magic Johnson had, that I believe a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has, that I believe a LeBron James has, that I do not know that Anthony Davis has. That it concerns me because those guys that I mentioned have multiple championships. And our guy Anthony Davis has one single championship. And I don't know that he's ever going to get another championship unless he learns to love the game in such a way that he doesn't appear to as of yet. So that's all it is. It's them other intangibles other than X's and O's that I wonder if Anthony Davis has in him to go about it again, to go out there again, right? And go after a championship, go through the hard rigors of winning a championship. Because it's one thing to do it in the bubble, right? It's another thing to do it again in the presence of all the things that come with the NBA championship. And I'm telling you right now, I hate the word asterisk as it pertains to our championship. But now that we've gone through 2 seasons since, I can tell you it is a difference. The environment is different. You talk about what Draymond Green just dealt with in Boston a couple games ago. We didn't have anything like that going on in the bubble. No environment like that in the bubble. You understand what I'm saying? So it's a difference, and because there's a difference, Anthony Davis is going to have to go out and get him another championship. He's going to have to. He's going to have to get himself another championship because that one, as hard as it was, and people like myself will remember it being harder than regular championships. I will remember that, and I'll know that to be the case. But others will not. They won't remember that. All they will see is the fact that those guys didn't have to deal with no crowds, and those guys didn't have to deal with no flights. That's all they're going to remember. So for him, he's going to have to win something other than a bubble championship if he wants it solidified in a way that everybody else's championships are. It's not fair, but it is, because it was different circumstances, and those circumstances were unique to that year alone. So as far as I could tell, everybody who won a championship that year still has another championship to win in order to receive that type of respect that other championships are going to get over time. That's just how I see it. It is what it is. If that was the only one you want on that Laker team, it's going to be an asterisk next to that thing, whether we like it or not. They're going to call it the bubble championship, the Mickey Mouse chip, whether we like it or not. It is what it is. That should motivate all of us to go get another one. It certainly does it for me. So that is what I got, man. That's my Laker rant for the day. I just wanted to kind of check in with you guys, give you a little bit of what I think. Very excited about the draft, even though I haven't done my homework on it. And very excited about my team, even though I don't know what we're going to look like. Coach Ham has a plan in place. Looks like our front office is doing things that I can get with. And I'm excited to see what we're going to look like next year, regardless of whether we're going to be any good or not. So that is what I have. BDL 44. Thank y'all for watching.